I'm imagining him like the office parkour scene after he leaves the movie, just like trying to punch and kick shit. Welcome to Spit Take. My name is Sam. Well, make sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, and TikTok. Joining me as always is Adam and Rick. What's up, Adam?
Not much, guys. We are ready to go for episode 10. No one thought we would make it this far, but we did it. Today we got a couple of things we're going to talk about, just brand new, a little bit of news. Natalia Speaks, a documentary about the little girl who everybody thought was an older lady. And then we're also going to be talking about John Bernthal being back as Punisher. And we do have a special guest today, Zach, and Rick's going to introduce him, but we will also be talking about the best fighting movies in our list. So Rick, go ahead, introduce us to Zach.
Hey guys, it's Rick, the Outer Assassin. On January 27th is a WWE Royal Rumble. Adam and Sam know jack shit about wrestling. That's because
Accurate.
They are, I was going to say something not woke. They are.
Can you smell what Stone Cold is cooking?
Sam got
I like Hulk Hogan.
But Zach has been gracious enough because he's a lunatic for wrestling just like me, but we are going to hopefully start a wrestling cast. I'm thinking about calling it Spit Take Presents the Shooting Star Press, because the Shooting Star is my favorite wrestling move of all time. Zach, I've known him for like 7-8 years now. We speaking of talking about fight movies today, we train martial arts together. Zach's an MMA fighter. He's a pretty badass guy. Probably kick any one of our asses here. And, I'm pretty proud we're both in the Bruce Lee lineage, both in the Megaton Diaz lineage. And that's a pretty big deal to me, something I'm very proud of. Zach, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Just a lifelong pro wrestling fan / nerd, and been training martial arts probably for like the last 15 years. Probably been competing, about as long. Just put my body through the ringer, to say the least.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, welcome to the show. We're excited to have you here. You are our second guest on the show. But yeah, let's go ahead. Let's kick it off. Let's start talking about some news. Let's start talking about some news here. So, Rick, tell us about the new documentary you watched on HBO.
It's actually Natalia Speaks. I don't know why I put Natalie Speaks. So, I wanted to talk about this, first of all, because it's a mind-bending documentary. I know Adam has watched it too. I
watched a different one. I watched The Curious Case of Natalia Grace.
It's the same thing. Yep. It's just there's 2 seasons.
Okay.
The first part's The Curious Case. The second part's Natalie Speaks. I have another podcast, which you guys should definitely go check that out too. It's out every Monday, and I think I'm going to start releasing one on Wednesdays too. And I'm going to be talking about this case. And if you know me, I'm pretty outspoken. And I'm probably going to talk about how a bunch of people are trash in this case. And so basically, I'm not going to get to a lot of spoilers on this, but they make it sound like this little girl is the movie Orphan. And this all pretty much happened a year after Orphan came out. But again, I don't want to get into spoilers. So I'd suggest watch the actual documentary or read into it a little bit. Or if you just don't really care to watch the documentary and want to learn about it, I pretty much go through the whole thing and talk about it. Some spoilers here, though. it's a pretty big clusterfuck. It's a pretty big case of child neglect and child abuse. And it's a pretty big drop in the system of you know how last week I'm talking about how I don't really trust politicians. I don't trust the court system either. Adam, you got anything to say about it?
Yeah, I really like the show, and I knew nothing about Natalia Grace before I watched it. My wife was the one who said, "Hey, like I heard about this great documentary. We need to sit down and watch it." And I was like, "Well, what's it about?" And when she told me, I was like, "Okay, I'm going to watch this." And as you're watching through, I don't remember how many episodes it was. It was like 4 or 5, and the story gets crazier every episode. And it's at first they're talking about like, oh yeah, it was a little girl, but it was actually like a grown woman. And the first couple episodes had me believing like, oh, okay, this is the situation, this is bad. I was like, well, oh, that's really fucked up. And they're talking about the girl standing at the foot of their bed with like holding a knife, and they were locking doors because she was going to murder them. So they're telling all this stuff, and I'm like, this is so crazy. Well, and then halfway through the documentary, it turns and gives more of the truth of what was actually happening. But like, regardless, it's so insane to even think that any of that was a possibility. And you kind of watch, and at first when they're showing pictures side by side of her standing next to a girl her same age, and you're like, oh yeah, you know what, she does look a little bit older, but you kind of don't take into the fact that she is got a couple of disabilities and stuff. She's just, she looks different. Right. She looks different. Okay. So, but the story is just, every episode just blew my mind, because it gets weirder and weirder. And like, there's a few documentaries I've seen now that kind of do that. And I love that documentaries are becoming so popular now, because I was not really into them really until I watched, which one was it? You Don't Fuck with Cats. That was a fucked up documentary too. But yeah, this one's insane. If you haven't seen it, watch it. And I really like, and Rick's right, we shouldn't give you guys any spoilers, because you need to experience everything in this watching it for the first time. And if you're somewhat familiar with the case, you don't know everything. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, but check it out and then come back and listen to my podcast and give me your opinions too. And the one I'm going to do for Wednesday is about what's called American Nightmare, which is a new one released on Netflix, which is basically about how the police thought this woman and boyfriend pretty much copied Gone Girl, a Ben Affleck movie.
That was a good movie.
But that's another crazy Netflix documentary to watch. So I'm going to start doing more podcasts kind of like these, like what's going on in the world, what are some crazy things that I see, and kind of giving my opinions and kind of relating that to mental health and trauma, because this kind of traumatized everybody that was involved. And me as a trauma specialist, I'm kind of watching this and seeing things that nobody else is talking about. So it's kind of cool. I think it's kind of cool that I get to actually get to talk about it. And I want to hear other people's opinions and get other people to kind of interact with me on it.
Yeah.
That's
well, now
awesome.
Now that Rick's commercial is over. But no, really, he has an excellent podcast, Warriors Respite. It's very good. I've listened to a few episodes now. But really, I want to go back to talking about just the blooming industry that is documentaries, because I've been watching a lot of those. I don't know if it's just like I'm getting older and I'm enjoying them more, or if just the quality of the documentaries has improved, or maybe a little bit of both.
They're making them more entertaining and Americanized.
They are. And the way that they're doing it really draws you in, and they're picking the right stories to do documentaries on. So again, during like the COVID times, right? So like right before COVID, I was a lot of friends at work telling me, you got to watch this show, Don't Fuck with Cats. Watched it, loved it. It was insane, whatever. COVID happens, and now everybody's talking about, as we know, the Tiger King. So everybody started watching the Tiger King, and I started just kind of falling in love with documentaries after that, because that was a wild one too. One of my favorite pitch meeting episodes is the one about Tiger King. It's so goddamn funny. Ryan George is hilarious with that one. But yeah, I've watched some good ones since then. Some like really good ones. What about you, Sam? You into documentaries?
I am here and there. They've really got to pique my interest. Some of them are just going to, like, a lot of them nowadays really don't, for one reason or another. If it's just not something that I'm personally going to be looking forward to learning something about. I don't see a lot of World War II documentaries around anymore, which is sad. But those are what I used to watch all the time. I mean, I do find it funny that you're saying, oh man, it's like a heyday for him now, when, man, they've been doing them forever. I mean, you look at people like Werner Herzog, and he's been doing documentaries and docu films for so long, and that guy, of any of them, has been doing some of the best, or putting out some of the best for the last 50 years. But yeah. I do get it, because I think it probably does have a little more to do with your age and getting older. You will actually want to watch something of substance. And no, I agree. And it definitely, with age, that I think that I do kind of I do enjoy those more. But there was something, I feel like, that changed right around 2020 or 2019, whatever it was. Like, I feel like there was something that changed about the format of the documentaries.
A lot of true crime stuff too.
Yes. Yeah. True crime is very popular now. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of them that, like, I enjoy. And I think I always kind of like the shows that were about that stuff. Homicide Hunter with Joe Kenda, one of the best fucking, like, cop, shows on TV. Like, dude solved over 400 murders in Colorado Springs, and I've watched every episode, every season of that show probably 2 or 3 times. It's just, he's so good at telling the stories. The reenactments are good. And it's a docuseries, him just reliving his cases and, like, talking about them. And some of the shit is so crazy that you can't believe people did that. But I mean, for a homicide detective to solve over 400 cases in his career, like, that's an insane number of homicides. Zach, you into documentaries at all?
Anymore right now, I like following like a lot of the documentaries people are putting up on YouTube. A lot of like sports documentaries, like sports tragedies and whatnot. Get a lot of like guys that, being that don't really have a whole lot of money to put in there, but they got a lot of time and a lot of passion where they do a lot of research, and it's just cool seeing stuff that you don't necessarily see covered. But like, being that you have access to stuff like that on there, that people can put it out, like, it's usually pretty interesting.
Yeah. When I feel like once they came out with Tiger King, like, that was catching lightning in a bottle. Like, they just had this documentary that was so wild that every single person was talking about it. It was like, and I remember watching that one, it blew my mind. And I was like, I want to watch more of these.
I think, to Zach's point, though, there are a lot of YouTubers that are putting up a lot of really good documentaries. There's one, not just a sporting, like Game Historian. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he does very articulate history on gaming that takes like months for him to make, that you can tell puts a lot of research in, like, the history of Super Nintendo, and he goes into everything, and it's like a 2-hour documentary on YouTube. The really
good one he has that I really enjoyed was the Tetris one.
Yeah,
like, he does it like in a style like it's a PBS style documentary.
Didn't they just had a Tetris movie come out? Didn't they?
On Apple with Egerton, what's his face?
Yeah, I like him. Yeah, Taron Egerton, that's his name. So I actually wanted to watch that one because it's all about the history of how Tetris was made, basically.
The Russians.
If you want to watch,
when I first heard that they were going to make a Tetris movie, I legit thought they were going to have a movie about people putting blocks in order.
People trying to pack their car.
Yeah, I was like, this movie's gonna be dumb. Listen, I forgave Battleship, but I won't forgive this
Never
one.
even seen that. But
Battleship had one of my favorite scenes in movie history, though, is when they pulled out the the USS Missouri. And they pull it,
Where they drop the anchor.
It's been a while since I watched it.
They're cutting the anchor off. They're getting all the old guys in there to teach them how to run the ship. Oh, awesome.
Oh man. Yeah. That was just like, that was a wild concept really the movie kind of writes itself based on the game, but they didn't do that at all. There was aliens. It was weird. But yeah, so that,
great.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just, I haven't watched any of these YouTube documentaries. I didn't even know people were making them.
oh, they're making a lot of stuff.
Oh, there's gaming historians good if you want like video game stuff. There's a lot of guys that like cover like sports.
There's
they like cover daily, but then we'll do like document stuff on. There's too much stuff out there.
I think the one that would really pique your interest, Adam, would be somebody like Wendigoon. Because he does like cryptids and he'll do serial killers. And like he's got one about, what was that? True Stories of the Warren Hauntings, The Conjuring, Annabelle, Amityville. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
That's
think
cool.
you'd like him.
I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah.
That yes, because I like the supernatural ones and I like the killer ones. Those are like probably my favorite. I've seen, like, I haven't watched in years, but I watched when I used to watch Ghost Adventures. I had seen everything up through I think season 10 or something like that. Like every episode. Like me and you remember Morgan when she was my roommate? We used to sit there and watch that all day. Like the two of us, like we found that show and I think we were just streaming it constantly every single day. Like to the point where like one day I woke up and like I walked out to our living room and she was like sitting there eating cereal and she's like, so I had a nightmare about Ghost Adventures. I was like, dude, I did too. Like that's how much Ghost Adventures we were watching that we were dreaming about it.
Is that about the time that you had the ghost hunting app on your phone that you brought out at Country Thunder?
That was we were trying to sit there and talk to ghosts. And that's when we came up with Maria the maid. That was I don't think she was a maid. Her name was Maria, and she was killed in front of the mirror in our bathroom. Yeah, and that was what we discerned from that app. So we used to have liquor bottles that we put up on top of the refrigerator, and they would always fall off. And so, like, I think that's how we downloaded the app. I was like, we were watching the show, and then we started asking, like, "What's your name?" And I was like, "Maria," and I was like, "What the fuck, Maria?" And we're like, "Okay." So we created this elaborate backstory for the ghost we had living in our apartment named Maria, who was killed by her drunk husband, and we're like, it's always strongest in the bathroom, so it's got to be like the mirror. So we created this whole backstory. That was that was a fun time. Yeah, we took that out of Country Thunder too.
Yep.
And probably the tequila squirt gun helped come up with some of that stuff too.
Tequila squirt gun's still my best idea I've ever had.
That was genius.
That was stolen from It's Always Sunny.
That was before It's Always Sunny.
It was before It's Always Sunny, yeah.
So, one story that you should be paying attention to that will be a documentary that I'm looking into now that was mentioned by one of my TikTok people is the story of Karen Reed, whose boyfriend was killed at a party. Her boyfriend was a cop, and the party goers were other cops, and they are accusing her of backing up into him after a fight, after an argument. But she's saying she drove off, and something happened at that party, and they left his body there. And so all these police officers are in on it to frame her. And this blogger, Turtle Boy, is on her side. He's like an investigative reporter. And he comes to town. And basically, they don't like that he's getting involved. And he finds out that the owner of the house bought this or started this fake company to plow the roads so he can refuse to testify. The company can refuse to testify. And so they're accusing this blogger that randomly came to town to investigatively report of threatening witnesses and attacking the prosecutor's ex-girlfriend who happened to be there.
Jesus.
Yeah. So there's this big
wild
thing going on. I'm researching it right now to get more into it because I want to give more of my opinion into this. But
yeah,
guarantee you this is going to be the next big documentary.
Probably. My wife likes to watch a lot of Dateline, and they've had some good episodes. I've sat and watched a few of them. You remember the college kids who got murdered last year over in Ohio? Yeah, the 3 kids. Yeah, they had like a whole one on them and everything and what happened. And I remember us talking about it at work, like trying to investigate like things like as we were sitting there. Like it just gets so, the news just brings all that stuff up and you're just like, I want to know what the fuck happened. Hence documentaries.
Most of my knowledge of the true crime and that sort of stuff just comes from either my wife watching that stuff on the YouTubes or her telling me about it. So
we should do it
really at all, but yeah, she can go into some major detail with the true crime.
Let's start a true crime podcast.
We've got enough podcasts on our plate right now. We should have the Spit Take podcast wives come on and talk about true crime documentaries.
Mm-hmm.
Just let them do an episode. But yeah, no, I think the Natalia Grace one is very interesting. Because it was a story I had no idea about and just blew my mind.
My wife couldn't sit through it, but she doesn't sit through disturbing.
It's hard to watch. Yeah, it's hard to watch. Like when you think it's just like some little girl who was like abused by these people that she trusted. Like it's terrible.
Yeah. And she I might just listen to my podcast for my opinion.
Yeah.
Seriously. If you want to hear me get emotional and get mad, listen to my podcast. I am excited about this next one. John Bernthal coming back as the Punisher. I'm kind of excited, actually, because Kathleen Kennedy still exists. And also, John Bernthal also spoke out against guns. So,
very strange character for him to play.
Whatever your political thing is, that's your political thing. But it's the Punisher. So, I kind of scares me that the Punisher would speak out against guns because I want the Punisher on my screen using lots of guns.
Yeah. Well, and there's the Punisher. I thought John Bernthal did such a great job with the Punisher. And I'll be honest, I never even finished the second season of Punisher. The first one was so much better. But he did play the character very, very well. Almost as good as Dolph Lundgren. Which is still probably one of my favorite Punisher movies. But I am excited to have John Bernthal back. I think that if they continue the character the way they were kind of doing it on Netflix, keeping it dark and gritty, I think it could be very good. Especially being like, hey, it's going to be more on the mainstream now, and less just like, here's this Marvel Netflix show that we're going to put over to the side here.
Hashtag not my Punisher. Thomas Jane.
I like Thomas Jane too.
I love Thomas Jane.
Did you see the Dirty Laundry video?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That was so good. That was the way it should have been.
Yep.
Yeah. That was the way that one should have been.
I think Thomas Jane versus Kevin Nash as the Russian is one of my favorite fights of all time.
It was great. And that, yeah.
Behind the scenes thing on that, because the stabbing scene, he was legitly stabbed because they used the wrong prop.
Yep. I heard about that.
And he no-sells it, which is the best thing ever.
Yeah. So I don't think I appreciated that movie when it came out, and I think I was disappointed that it was PG-13 because Punisher was always one of my favorites. And I played the Punisher, that game that came out in like, what was it, like 98 or something like that.
They had a Punisher after that, the Thomas Jane movie that was pretty good.
Yeah. The one I'm talking about, so like where you could go around and like just torture people and get information out of them. Maybe that's the same one.
Movie.
Okay. It was?
Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't remember when it came out, but I love that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were so many great moments in that, and taking somebody and putting their head underneath a drill press and just slowly lowering it to their head till they broke and gave you information. You had the buzzsaw, and you could do special kills. It was like, I don't know. I haven't found a game that matches up to the feeling of playing that one yet, but it was so much fun. And Punisher is such an iconic character, and we talked a little bit about him last week. I know that he went a little bit woke in the comic books now, but you know, hopefully they just keep the original Punisher, murder, kill, whatever. You know, because he was always a character that kind of crossed the line every single time, but you were rooting for him to do it because you're like, I would do the same thing. And I think he's the most relatable character, because you would do the same thing if your whole family was murdered.
I loved his interactions with Captain America, where like dudes walk in, he murders everybody there. Captain America
from Civil War,
ass, but like he looked up to Captain America though. Captain America was like his hero.
Yep.
Yeah, so, that was in Civil War.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was great. That was a great scene because it was the two villains who came in. They're like, hey, we hear that the other side's recruiting villains. We thought we'd join you. And then all of a sudden they just, both their heads get blown off by the Punisher.
My favorite picture, I was thinking about getting that tattooed where Captain America's on his knees with the shield and Punisher has a gun to the back of his head and he's saying, "You were my hero," or something like that. I forget which comic that's from. But I love, I don't know, the Captain America Punisher mesh. Like, those are two of my favorite characters, but they're totally opposite. And that's what I love about them. I love their interactions, and then I love when Punisher puts on the Captain America moniker for that short time, too.
Yeah.
So that's why I just love that mesh of Captain America Punisher, because it shouldn't belong, even though they're both America in different ways.
Yeah.
And my favorite, Deadpool versus Punisher.
Hell yeah.
I haven't read that one.
Fantastic one. Fantastic. Basically, Punisher needs Deadpool. I won't spoil anything, but he needs Deadpool to complete a mission. And every time Deadpool starts to realize that he's not supposed to be helping Frank shoots him in the head, so he forgets.
That's pretty good. Kind of like a Groundhog Day thing.
Yes, it's so good.
I like the interactions he has with Spider-Man 2 in the comics. Mm-hmm. I can't remember which one it was, but there was one where, like, you know, where Punisher is on I think he was like on a boat or something with Spider-Man, and then Punisher just tosses somebody over the ledge so that Spider-Man will go after him. And it's just like, yep, this is my way out. So many good comics with that though, and again, the Dolph Lundgren Punisher is still probably, I don't know, it's between that and the Thomas Jane one, because the Dolph Lundgren one was the violent, sadistic movie it should have been, without really ever showing the Punisher skull or anything. It was quasi Punisher in reality, but he was so good.
Dolph Lundgren was good, but I do take Thomas Jane. I don't know, Thomas Jane with John Travolta as the bad guy. I mean, I don't know. I like John Travolta.
He was so good in that role. He was. And so good as the bad guy. I love when he, his son, he puts the grenade, hooks it up to the ceiling, makes him hold it out. The minute he drops his hand, it explodes. It's great.
Yeah.
So great.
That's the one disappointing thing, if they could bring back Thomas Jane as the Punisher and do an R-rated movie, being how they proved that R-rated superhero movies can be successful.
Yes,
absolutely. And
Disney's willing.
I think he's a little. Yeah. I mean, he's gotten a little old to play the part now and whatever Marvel's doing. But Thomas Jane is so good.
Think about like what you could do, like almost a Old Man Logan Punisher movie though with him.
You
Yeah.
absolutely could. I mean,
Thomas
Punisher
Jane's-
gets old.
Thomas Jane's 54.
Yeah.
He's not that old, and he would do it too.
Oh, he wanted to do it.
Yeah.
He did. That's why he made the Dirty Laundry. It was like kind of the same thing that Ryan Reynolds did with Deadpool. Took a camera and went and made something and tried to get them to redo it, but they wouldn't.
And I've been saying,
It was that, at least you had that though.
Yeah.
I've been saying, I think Marvel should do what DC does and do. And Sony did it, or is kind of doing it with Spider-Man. They're supposed to, right? Like stories outside the universe, outside the main universe. I think they were supposed to do a Andrew Garfield one now, right? Back in the Amazing Spider-Man universe, or that was the rumored.
Yeah.
I'd like to see them do that more. Go back to old universes, or do just like an original story outside the universe, kind of like they do with Joker and Robert Pattinson Batman. But I'd also I love Batman, but do other things too, DC, please.
Yeah. Yeah, because like DC has a whole corner now that's just like all the outlier stories that are like not connected to the James Gunn universe now.
Right.
So
yeah. Well, they're all getting into the multiverse anyway, so it's like, oh, this is just a different universe. It's all connected, but this is another universe in the multiverse.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, hopefully John Bernthal brings it back. I would love to see his version of Punisher. Thomas Jane. So real quick, back to Thomas Jane. I was texting you guys around Halloween. I watched The Mist for the first time, which came out in 2007. Had Thomas Jane as the main star, and he was so fucking good in that movie too. I was like, that movie in general was just amazing, but like he's a way better actor than I think any of us ever gave him credit for.
And my boy Sam Witwer was in it.
He was.
Walking
So
Dead
was
cast were in it too.
Yeah, pretty much all of the Walking Dead cast were in it because the writers of The Mist were the same writers of The Walking Dead.
What was that HBO show? I think it was HBO show that he did. Yes. That was a good show.
I don't think I ever watched it.
I didn't watch that one.
It actually was really good.
A few episodes.
Yeah.
Wasn't Thomas Jane in Arrested Development too?
Yes, he was supposed to be a bum.
No, they thought he was the bum. Yeah,
And,
just trying to get
Portia,
into a part.
I forget her real name. The sister was attracted to him.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So he needs more work. People give him a job.
What has he been doing? Where's he at?
I haven't seen him in anything lately.
Expanse. I think I tried watching that. I heard that was really good, but I couldn't get into it. And I've heard that was really good. Maybe you have to get past a certain point, but he was in 1922. That was like
I didn't see that one.
Horror movie on Netflix.
I think we can move on to our favorite fighting movies.
So here's the thing about fighting movies. It doesn't take much to satisfy me. John Wick, they killed his dog.
That's what she said.
Good enough for me. But like the plot is just part of it. The story of a fighting movie is so much more than the plot because the fights tell a story all in and of themselves. Every single fight, every single the fight in Rocky, every fight in a Bruce Lee movie, every single fight in a Jackie Chan movie tell a whole story. When I'm watching a pro wrestling match, every match tells a story. That's part of it. When you watch The Undertaker, when you watch Triple H, you know they're a good wrestler when they tell a story within their match. That's how you know they're legends. That's how you know an action star like Bruce Lee or Arnold Schwarzenegger or whoever. Well, Arnold Schwarzenegger probably not the best example, but Keanu Reeves did so much training for John Wick with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and arms combat training and stuff like that. He got so good at it that he told such a good story in all his fights. And that's how you become a hero, a legend in an action movie. I am actually not going to pull out the first movie or my dick. I'm going to go ahead and let Zach, our guest, talk about his favorite action movie. So we all decided to pick 3 of them. We're going to pick one and go around. Zach, what is your favorite action movie?
Were we doing action movie or
favorite action?
Okay, fighting movie.
Okay.
See, this was the hard part when Rick brought this up, and he's like, "Pick your favorite fighting movie." I'm like, "Well, you mean martial arts? You mean action?"
I had brought it up initially saying just martial arts movie, and then it got opened up to fighting, and I was like, "Well, that's a completely different animal."
Fighting.
That's pretty much every movie.
Fighting.
Like Step Brothers was a fighting movie by our definition. They fought all those kids at the end.
A movie that's about fighting.
Anchorman was.
Anchorman had a giant fight in it too.
That's not about fighting.
Still the best. The fight scene in Anchorman though is top notch.
It's so realistic.
Like Anchorman 2.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Anchorman 2, like it's like garbage movie except for the giant fight scene in the middle.
I have to explain that having a fight scene does not make it a movie about fighting. Zach,
you spend about like 10-15 minutes of the movie
fighting.
Okay. And being that I'm a mixed martial artist, so like a little bit biased there, but my absolute favorite fight movie ever, it has to be Warrior, which is a fairly new movie, last 10 years, 10, 12 years at this point. But 2 brothers, both former wrestlers, got into fighting. One brother coming back from the military, turns out like, he fighting for like his dead comrades' family so they can have money to live, revealed later. And then the older brother fighting just so he can doesn't lose his house. And they both get into this like $1 million tournament. Now, to me, like scenes in that movie are just probably, if there is like a modern equivalent to Rocky, that would be it.
Cool. I never saw that one.
I watched that one.
You need to.
I watched that one.
Okay.
It does pull at the heartstrings.
It does.
I felt really bad for the dad in that movie. He was definitely trying to make up for his wrongs, and he was getting no sympathy.
That's that whole... Well, like, you get into the backstory, like, you don't really necessarily see the shit, like, he puts them up. My bad. The crap he puts...
Oh, no, you can say it. It's okay.
2 brothers.
Yeah, you can swear on this.
Okay. The shit that he puts them through, being an alcoholic, abusive dad.
Yeah.
They talk about it, but talking is different from seeing.
For sure.
Like, the only time, like, you get to see is, like, when he, like, relapse after the younger brother is, like, just basically has at him, and then like he spends the night like getting back into alcohol, and he's just absolute mess in the morning.
Sure.
But no, it's my favorite scene in the movie, and like if you haven't seen it, you need to watch it. Is the older brother's third fight, where he fights the unbeatable Russian played by Kurt Angle, and he gets the shit kicked out of him for like the first 2 rounds. And then his coach just goes up and tells him, "It's like, all right, do you want to quit? If you want to quit, we'll just go home right now. But if you don't win this fight, if you don't finish this guy in this round, you don't have a home to go back to." And then he goes in the next round and comes back and ends up tapping him out, the unbeatable Russian. Like, probably like, other than the climactic ending match where the 2 brothers fight in the finals, that's probably like the most emotional I kind of got for the whole movie.
And Kurt Angle definitely didn't have the neck surgeries he had now, and he freaking power bombs the dude in it.
Well, he had most of them.
He did not
like
look
the dude had like
Kurt Angle looks like freaking ET right now.
Kurt Angle's been through like 7 neck surgeries. He's broken his neck like 4 different times.
He looked great.
4 times in pro wrestling.
Right. Yeah.
That's not counting the one time that he won the gold medal with a broken neck.
But I felt bad for the dad because he was just using the dad, and dad's trying to make up for everything. And he pretty much said, the younger brother, Tom Hardy, basically said, he's nothing to me. I'm using him to train me. That's it. And then he drives his dad to drink again after all those days sober. Just completely treats his dads like shit. I think Tom Hardy's a piece of shit in this movie. And I think both the brothers are pieces of shit for the way they treated their dad. And guess what? I understand that your dad put you through all that stuff, but you drove your dad, who's trying to make up for it and trying to get his life back together, you drove him back to drinking. You drove him back to a life of misery. You're a couple of assholes. I have no sympathy for you.
Okay, that's more the younger brother, Tom Hardy's character, because the older brother, Joe, Egerton? Oh, how do you say his name?
However you want.
Yeah. Well, he's a good actor, regardless.
I don't want you seeing my kids. I don't want you in my life. Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, but like he just wants to shut him out of his life. The other one, basically tells him straight up, yo, you're way better as a drunk.
Right.
The one brother's just like, no, I just don't want you around you. I don't want that around my kids.
Imagine
the other brother's like, no, you just go ahead and drink.
Being a dad, one kid doesn't let you see your grandkids. The other one tells you you're a piece of shit. You know what I mean? But the fights at the end where he catches him, spoiler, where he catches him in that rear naked choke.
It was an omoplata.
Well, he catches him in that new rear naked choke. Like, if you've ever knew you were done, like he got that feeling perfectly. When you know you're not getting out of this shit, you got to tap out. You knew that feeling when he starts tapping. Like, he captured that feeling.
Well, in terms of like you're telling like fights telling a story, the fight choreography for the movie is just amazing. Because I know like Eddie Bravo was brought in for like to help choreograph a lot of it, and then like a lot of the fighters are actual real fighters. Like they got Rumble Johnson and Nate Marquardt, both
what's his name?
Top flight UFC fighters.
They had Rashad Jennings doing one of the commentary. Yeah, they had a lot of guys. And they were doing real moves.
Yeah, and then like Kurt Angle, all those.
You guys got anything to say, Sam? You're shaking your head.
No, I'm really enjoying y'all's back and forth on that one. I was really enjoying the discussion, so I was just happy to sit back and listen to you. I like the movie. I think I've seen it once, but I know I really enjoyed it when I saw it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen it, but I looked it up on IMDb while you guys were talking, and I picked the wrong one. But there's a show called Warrior on HBO Max, and it looks awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's about a guy who becomes a hatchet man for a Chinese gang. And I'm just watching the trailer. I can't even, I have the sound off, and I'm like, I want to go watch this after we're done podcasting.
That's on Max. I'm gonna watch that.
As far as the movie goes, it sounds like a good one. So I'm gonna have to just add it to my list and watch that sometime.
I mean, it's kind of like a low budget at times. Like they didn't put in terms of money, they didn't put like a ridiculous amount to it. They just got a lot of good people to make it.
Fair enough.
Like there's top like some names like Tom Hardy, Nick Nolte. Like you got good actors.
It was really good acting, and it had
realistic fighting as well.
I'm trying to think of the girl's name. Jennifer Morrison. She's been on a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's his the older brother's coach? I can't think of his name. The actor who plays him. He's like in everything now anymore.
Oh,
He played Crossbones and
yeah.
That he's a great stunt actor too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's how he got his start, wasn't it?
Yeah. He's fantastic. I love him and pretty much everything he does.
All right.
Cool. Sam, you want to? Sam or Rick? Who wants to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I kind of put my list together a little late. Rick, I won't steal my top one from you. I'll let you have that one. We'll go with, for mine, I'm going to say Pao Enter the Fist.
I saw that movie one time. I laughed. I laughed. It was silly.
It's a silly fighting movie. It's basically taking a riff on all the martial arts movies. The guy has a mouth on his tongue. It's fantastic. I couldn't even do justice to explain what the movie's about, but it's got a fighting grandma. It's got like everything from all the great martial arts movies in it that they're riffing on, or just straight up taking the footage from and reusing the footage. And it's fantastic.
It's been a long time since I saw that one, but I remember it having some like really funny moments in it.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've seen that too. But yeah, that was a classic like comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't like point out anything specific. I just remember it just cracking up to it.
Yep.
Right. I remember that, and I think it was one of like the last few good parody movies we really had.
Yeah.
That was like completely off the wall like this. You know, your Airplane style, not another teen movie. Like it was like one of the last like good ones that we had before they came out with all the crap that, you know, they've been releasing.
Yeah, they've been trying to push off this parody that's just not good. Just garbage.
Yeah. Well, and the reason I like Kung Pao was because I was huge into the Bruce Lee movies, the martial arts movies, especially like the foreign film ones. I was super into them. So like as I watched it, it all kind of made a lot of sense to me and what they were saying. And I think it made it a lot funnier. Like I think if you went into that and not really a fan of that kind of movie, you'd be like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
It is stupid though.
It is very stupid.
It's dumb as shit. You know what?
It's dumb as shit, but smartly written, smartly done.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, I have no argument against it. That's a good pick.
Like, yeah, the guy takes two groundhogs, makes them bite each other, and then uses them as nunchucks. I like. Yeah, it's dumb, but holy crap, it works in the movie. Yeah, I'm like Rick. I can't really like pick out any specific scene or anything, but I kind of feel like I want to go back and watch that one again because it's been a while.
One that I probably have to go back and watch.
Yeah, it's been a few years, and I was racking my brain to come up with all the ones that I love because there are so many. I used to just love martial arts movies. I used to love fighting movies, and that was one that popped into my brain. And I was like, I haven't seen it in like 5 years, but yes, that is 100% on there.
Yeah. No, that is a good one. I'll give you that. That's a good pick. And there's probably a lot of people out there who never saw that movie. Because I don't think it did that well at the box office, from what I understand.
Yeah, probably not. It did not look appealing, you know.
It didn't.
People weren't lined up around the block for it.
They didn't really try to make it look appealing. I feel like they tried to make it look like it was an old martial arts movie that they're re-releasing. But yeah.
Well, it did win 2 awards, most painfully unfunny comedy and worst picture at the Stinkers Bad Movie Awards.
It was ahead of its time, man. I'm telling you.
It was.
Probably deserved.
Yeah, they're not wrong.
No, they're wrong. What do you got, Rick?
All right. Well, I just think the greatest fighting movie of all time, and probably one of my favorite movies of all time. You turn it on, I'm sitting there watching and cutting out the world, is Rocky. My wife hates it that I just randomly turn on Rocky just to turn on Rocky. It's
Every time Rick says Rocky, take a drink.
Yes.
I love it. It's you know,
I need to get me a drink.
I'm trying not to say it, but Carl Weathers and Sylvester Stallone, and I'm pretty sure it's just one of those stories that they just stole from Tortoise and the Hare. I think they just said, let's take Tortoise and the Hare and take it to boxing, and we'll have Carl Weathers be like the greatest boxer of all time, and Sylvester Stallone be this dope. And the whole time, Apollo Creed's like, oh, I just want to fight somebody with a cool name. And like, well, he's a southpaw. And they're like, who cares? And then he's boxing the meat, and they're like, you got to check this guy out. And they're like, who cares? And they don't know that he just sexually assaulted Adrian, and Adrian don't care. She gets with him anyways. That was an uncomfortable scene, by the way. Am I the only one that was like, Rocky sexually assaulted Adrian? She finally gave in. Anyways, whatever.
Sexual assault was more common in the movies back then.
Like,
It was.
She's like, I gotta go, seriously. He's like, no, you're a guest in my house.
High Plains Drifter did that too. Clint Eastwood sexually assaulted multiple women in that movie, but he was the good guy.
But
We were very okay with that.
I mean, I'm more than happy to go into Westerns at some point because I've got a list. But that plays into what they were doing with those movies at the time. But we'll go back to Rocky. I'm with you, Rick. Rocky is one of the greatest of all time. If you have a movie that with the backstory of how Sylvester Stallone had to go about getting that made, he tried to sell it so many times, and they were like, all right, yeah, we'll do it. And then they started looking at actors play Rocky, and he was like, no, I'll be Rocky. I'm going to be Rocky. And they were like, no, not you. You can't fucking talk. And he was like, all right, I'll take my script somewhere else. And he kept going, and he had to end up selling his dog, and he had to do all this other stuff just to get the dang movie made. Like, yeah, it changed Philadelphia forever. Like, it's a great movie. I'm with you.
Well, it created the montage.
What was Rocky's dog's name?
Atlas.
Nope.
Bear.
Butkus.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Dick Butkus.
Yeah, I don't know.
And
It's been a while.
And so Carl Weathers basically ignoring that Rocky's actually a real threat, even though his boys are like, dude, check this out. And Rocky's the whole time, the whole story is, I don't need to win. I just need to go to the distance. And he gets knocked down. And it wasn't that he went the distance. It's just that if he went another second, he would have won. And everybody knows he had Apollo Creed. And in the second one, because at the end of the first one, Apollo's like, you're not getting a rematch. And in the second one, Apollo's like, oh, they think he had me. I want another one. And oh my God, that makes me want to watch the second one now. This is my jerk off. I love Rocky.
And you keep going on, and he eventually fights the Russian, of course, played by Dolph Lundgren, because we're going to keep bringing up Dolph Lundgren in movies tonight. But did you ever watch the Cracked After Hours about Rocky?
Probably. It's been a while.
That's a good one. They basically point out how racist the movie actually was. It's really, really funny stuff. Basically, Rocky takes credit for all the things that were big accomplishments for like black boxers back in the 80s. So I don't know. It's funny. I'm gonna probably watch that again because it's hilarious. something like that. Maybe it was in the 70s. Whatever the case was, they were just basically pointing out that every accomplishment that he makes in the movies was actually the accomplishment of a black boxer.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
He's the
I like those.
Italian.
Yeah, I like those movies though. They're good. They're entertaining. Some of it is fairly forgettable, but I mean, it brought so much to pop culture, which is why it's like such a good movie. Again, it brought the training montage to us. It was one of the first times that the main character had lost a fight like that in the end, and it was kind of a happy ending, but it also wasn't because he lost.
Every like sports movie after Rocky was a copy of Rocky after the montage. Like everything is a copy of Rocky.
Yeah.
It made high school athletes everywhere when they run upstairs do this.
Yeah.
Yep. It was the Titanic before Titanic, when everybody was hanging off the end of a boat saying, "I'm the king of the world." That's exactly what those stairs were too.
T-bowing before T-bowing. Everybody remember
Exactly.
T-bowing?
Yeah, briefly. No, it also fantastic movies.
Bring it back.
And
I'm just gonna go T-bow in random places.
No, you should bring back planking.
Nah.
Bring back planking.
Yeah,
Planking.
just like in the middle of a street somewhere, busy highway.
Should bring back Faith Hilling.
I'm gonna bring back teabagging on your face.
You guys remember the South Park episode? They're trying to Faith Hill at the debate. Yeah. Standing there holding their shirts out. That was a good episode. And then when they were like, "Oh, wait, that's out of that nobody's doing that anymore. It's all about the Taylor Swifting now, and they're dragging their ass on the ground."
Vic, anything on Rocky?
I don't know. The Faith Hilling got me.
Well, I'll tell you what, Rocky.
I'll-
Go ahead, finish.
I was just saying, like, because I still going on the Rocky on that. Like, there's times I will pull up some of the training montages and some of the speeches, like when I need to get motivation for whether if I'm training for a fight or just getting a good lift, or if I actually am going into a fight.
Yeah,
The one that I like the most, which is just funny because it was like the last one, was the speech before they go into the in Rocky Balboa, when right before he starts training, just tell him, "No, you're old as hell, so we can't. We're not going to beat this guy with speed. The best bet we got is you just to get jacked as possible and hit him as hard as you can."
Which one was that?
Which is funny because
That was Balboa.
which is funny because of
That was
his
when he was
speech.
like 60 years old.
It's funny because of his speech.
Yeah.
It's like, everybody, how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep on going.
Yeah.
I've had a few fights that I look like Rocky after a fight.
Yeah.
And I do like the Creed series. What's his name? Jordan. What's his name?
Michael B. Jordan.
Michael B. Jordan.
I'm like the girl who broke her retainer when he took off his shirt on Black Panther. I'm straight as an arrow, but no, I'm just joking. But
Callbacks.
I do like Creed. I do really like the Creed movies. They brought Dolph Lundgren back for that, and brought the Russian's kid back. I don't know when the next one's coming out, but I damn sure I'm gonna watch it. And speaking of something I wanted to mention real quick, I wish they did make an MMA movie about female fighters, because female MMA fighters, that's the one women's sport that I actually get excited about watching, and it has nothing to do with anything sexual. Like, female fighters are actually really exciting.
I don't know what it is. What if it's just the female mentality? But I don't think I've ever been disappointed watching a female fight.
Female fighting's freaking good. I'm a fan.
I don't know if they just have a killer mentality or it's just they waited so much longer to make it to the big stage, but they never
And
disappoint.
Female pro wrestling. It's not like next on ESPN, women's click.
I'm laughing because how much you had to specify. It's not sexual.
Which only leads me to believe that it is a little sexual.
No, it's not. What's her name? Rose? She shaved her head so people won't look at her sexual. Because she's like a
Okay, and I feel like you're still watching it with a pillow on your lap.
No.
I just
He likes it when a girl was willing to choke him.
There
Just
are
say
cute
that.
girls, but like you actually like don't really care about that when you're watching this.
I just thought it was funny how you had to be specific
I don't
about
know.
that.
Oh yeah, my favorite part is Rick's specificity.
Well, no, it's just the fact that they don't have to sell sex. Like they have the lingerie football league, which is kind of stupid. Like they have a professional football league where the women are actually playing in lingerie.
It's not that stupid.
It's not that stupid, but it's kind of stupid.
Everything's
Or
got an
women's beach
audience.
volleyball.
Nobody's watching it, and the only reason anybody's watching it is because they're perverts.
If you get turned on by girls beating the shit out of each other, I get it. It's okay.
I mean,
Everyone has their kink.
That's right. We're not kink shaming here. We will not yuck your yum.
I'm not saying I do or I don't. I'm just saying that's not why. Adam, what's your movie?
FYI, I love women's beach volleyball.
Who doesn't?
But so I'm going to talk about my third pick, actually, because that kind of ties in with Rocky because it's the same creators, which is The Karate Kid. The Karate Kid was iconic for me. I've seen that way more than I've seen Rocky. And there's just everything about that movie is just so perfect. And it's just about some kid who moves from New Jersey to California, doesn't have any friends, gets into a beef with the school bully who's, another karate kid, we'll say, meets the janitor who knows karate and teaches him how to fight. And he gets into a tournament and ends up winning and basically winning the respect of his bully. And as we know down the line, and we didn't know this back watching it over and over in the 90s, Cobra Kai's come out since then, obviously, and I love that show, and it gives kind of a different point of view. It changes a little bit about how you watch the movie, but I always like that one, and it's the underdog story I like. I'm completely aware that that Ralph Macchio ends up winning a tournament after training for about 2 months in karate against people who've been training like most of their lives.
He's a prodigy.
He is, apparently. Or Mr. Miyagi's just that great of a teacher.
With an illegal kick to the head.
With an illegal kick to the head. You know what? But you know what? That's also justified because, Miyagi even says going in there, he's like, I don't know the rules. He was just teaching him how to fight.
Yeah, but the referee knows the rules.
The referee knows the rules. The referee is the one who fucked them. Not Daniel. Daniel did what he was trained to do. So
it was Mills Lang from Celebrity Deathmatch. I'll allow it.
Jaden Smith was my favorite actor.
Shut up.
That was Kung Fu, not karate.
Yeah. Well, and that's it. So Karate Kid spawned 3 sequels and technically a 4th, I guess. As well as an entire TV show that's going into its 6th season, 6th and final season, and more spin-off movies from that. So that's just like how iconic this movie really was. And if you were watching that movie when you were a kid, like you wanted to go do karate. It was it. And I love the way they did everything. There's so many quotable lines from that movie. Like, so I quote that movie to my wife all the time, and she's like, "What's that from?" It's like, I'll say things to her. I'll be like, "Sweep the leg, Johnny." And she'll be like, "What is that?" I'm like, "It's the Karate Kid." I'm like, "Come on." Like, but I say so many different things. She's like, "Oh, like I know the wax on, wax off one." I was like, everybody knows that one. Everybody knows "Sweep the leg, Johnny." But that's like one of my favorite things to say. And that's probably something that comes out at least once a month.
Does not exist in this dojo.
Strike first, strike hard, no mercy.
Yeah, I think
Dude,
John Kreese is one of the greatest villains of all time, and he's still one of the greatest villains of all time. No, actually, now what's his name? John Silver now has proven to be a freaking crazy bad guy. But John Kreese, dude, long running bad guy, crazy.
Like, yes, fully agree. It is so weird to see him interact with people on Twitter because he's such a nice guy.
From what I hear, he's like the nicest person.
Yeah.
Was it a?
Yeah, and
didn't they do the parody commercial where he opens up after like he like calms down, he opens up his new jam, the Koala Kai.
I don't know how to say that, but
He's supposed to be super nice.
well, and he was such a great character, and Cobra Kai made him even more of a tragic character. When they did that episode about him like being trapped in Vietnam, or I think it was over the season, but being trapped in the prison and everything, and having to fight to the death and throwing someone in the snake pit, and it's just when you hear his tragic story, and you're like, that's why he's such a hard ass and such a like emotionless bastard, but. They humanized him a lot with that. He wasn't just some guy who was an asshole. He was some guy who went through some shit. Like, he's obviously a veteran with some PTSD. Like, he probably should not have a karate dojo. But at the same time,
probably shouldn't be teaching kids.
No. But yeah, I mean, he was such a good villain, and he was definitely not as extreme as he is in Cobra Kai and the original Karate Kid. And I really, I enjoyed the sequels. Karate Kid 2 was good. Karate Kid 3 was good. The next Karate Kid was okay, I guess. And then the Karate Kid with Jaden Smith was by name only.
Still got to rewatch that. I know we talked about that.
Yeah.
I don't remember hating it. I remember being upset it wasn't karate. But I don't remember hating it. I just remember it just being a copy of Karate Kid. I remember doing the jacket on, jacket off, jacket on. Not jacket.
And Jackie Chan
off, but
yeah, I gotcha. I know what you meant.
Not what I'm doing.
I think
Jackie Chan was good in that.
I think my favorite of the Karate Kid movies is the one where he goes to Japan.
The second one.
Yeah,
Okinawa.
That's my favorite one.
That's a great one.
The Asian girl.
Who's way prettier than the girl from the first one.
Elizabeth Shue?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the second one I had a crush on.
Yeah, I did too growing up.
I liked Elizabeth Shue.
And it was really cool. Ralph Macchio going, or in the TV show, going and meeting her again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. That was great.
And then Chosen was there.
That's why I that's what's awesome about Cobra Kai is you don't ever get to see what happened to everybody.
Yeah.
No.
It's pretty cool how they did all this. Because Karate Kid is definitely a saga we cared about, and we didn't know we needed this.
No, and when I first heard they were doing it, I was like, this is going to be stupid. And it's probably like the best show I've seen in probably 10 years. But like you get the stories of what happened.
Since Supernatural's been off the air, it's probably the best show on the air.
Right.
Has Barney Stinson showed up yet?
No, not yet.
He should do a cameo.
He absolutely should.
But they have, it's... The Cobra Kai has been really good, and I was glad that we got to see how some of those characters' lives shaped out. Like when we saw Michael Barnes as the furniture salesman and everything, that was great. Chosen became my favorite character when he came on the show regularly.
Great, yeah,
he was the best when he was doing the thing where they had to protect their eggs or whatever. He gave all the kids eggs, and he's like, take these. He's like, protect them from me, and he's going around just basically assassinating the kids' eggs. That was like one of the best episodes ever. Like he's just going full ninja on them,
and all the kids in the show are great actors. I like.
They are.
I really like Hawk, right? But he like went off the deep end, and he's like, "You're being a douchebag, and I want to like you because you like we're a nerd." Then he got cool. Now you're being an asshole, but like he's doing it so
now
well.
He's good. Now he's a good guy again.
Good again.
Because the Christmas fight, that was the best fight in that show.
It was in the house?
Brawls.
Yeah, in the house. Yeah.
They have the
That was
fight
really
in the house. They have the fight in the school.
Yeah. Well, so the best part about that show was I was sitting there watching it one day, and my wife's walking around, and she's like, and like in the show they're talking about karate gangs. They're like, so we, now we've got all these karate gangs running around. My wife stopped and she looked. She was like, did they just say karate gangs? And I was like, yeah, duh. And she's just like, you're a fucking nerd.
So who I think is probably the best character and the best actor on the show is the bad girl.
Peyton.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's good. Yeah.
Because every single episode, I'm back and forth on whether I like her or I fucking hate her.
Yeah.
She's so good, and that character is so good because I can go like 2 or 3 episodes and I'm like, yeah, no, she's awesome. She's my favorite character. And then I'm like, she's such a piece of shit. I hate her. Get rid of her.
And that's the sign of a good actor.
Yeah.
They can make you love them or hate them with one line.
Yep.
She was on some kids' camp show before this that my daughter watched, and I had to watch it over and over again. Oh my God, it was annoying.
All right.
But I liked watching.
Can we go on to the next one?
Yes,
we can.
Zach.
Back to Zach.
What's your next one?
Well, I guess we're going on with the Rocky franchise, but Rocky 4, for some reason, I have more of a connection with that movie, probably because I watched it so many times growing up compared to the other two.
No.
But yeah, it just turning the ridiculous up to 11 with the Rocky movies. Mm-hmm. Like, we're already past like its groundedness. Now Rocky's fighting for America on this.
Yeah.
And the fact also the story going behind it that like Dolph Lundgren actually put Sylvester Stallone in the hospital filming like some of the scenes. Mm-hmm. Just awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is a good one, and it was definitely during the definitely a movie made about the Cold War.
Oh, 100%.
That's why it's so great, because America wins in the end, because that's when the Russians became the bad guys, was the 80s.
And the most ridiculous thing is that Dolph Lundgren, Drago is training in state-of-the-art facility, while Rocky's just like in a barn when it's freaking Russia.
Chasing a chicken around.
Well, I was thinking, though, I remember watching that. I haven't watched that for a while, but I remember watching Drago with all those machines thinking, like, how, like, accurate could those machines have really been? What was that, in 1990 or something like that? Like, compared to now, like, how good were those machines? Did those machines really do anything?
They were probably as good as...
Not been great.
Yeah, they were probably as good as any machine they had on infomercials back in the 90s.
Yeah.
No, they're just as good as the machines in the bars.
Yeah, that's true. Measures it.
Yeah.
No, the machine in the bars are a step up from that. We got another 20, 30 years of development for those.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Yeah, but no, Rocky 4. So, I mean, if you're picking the best Rocky movies, it's Rocky 1, then Rocky 4.
Yeah. Is it just the one where, what's the son's name? He ages like 4 years from 3 to 4, I think, too.
I don't know.
There's like big gap. Because it's like it starts right after 3, I believe. Too. So there's kind of some holes in this too. I've watched Rocky enough. My tongue's blue. Sorry. I watched Rocky enough to where I notice these things. And I'm pretty
Rick
sure
the Gila monster. Rick's no longer a sea otter. He's a Gila monster.
I'm pretty sure last time I watched the whole series, I was like, that kid grew like 6 inches.
Yeah.
Which one is 4 the one with the robot?
The robot,
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yep.
Oh my God.
That was
what happened?
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, how good was technology in the 90s, really? Come on.
Yeah.
Not great.
Like, rich people
That wasn't even in the 90s.
Robot rolling around like that, did they? Like they did sell a little robot in the 90s, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah.
They sold that robot.
A Teddy Ruxpin where you put a cassette tape in it or something.
I forget what the name of it was, but they sold that robot. That's why it was in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, but that robot.
That's why Rocky. Yeah. That's why Rocky was dirt poor in the next movie after he couldn't fight anymore because he spent all his money on that robot.
Yeah.
Away. Yeah. To
Marble Floors.
Adrian's brother spent it all.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I lost
Don't
like
challenge me on this. I watch too much Rocky. Yeah, and then he ends up poor. Yeah, and that was sad too. I felt that. Because he was poor for the rest of his life, and then he owned the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we talked about Rocky a lot. Anything else to say about that one?
No, that's a great one. That is a great one.
No, that's for me. It's Rocky 4, then Rocky 1.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
How scary that man was, Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah. Good old Dolph Lundgren.
He dies.
That's a good line.
Great line.
That is the best line. That's probably my favorite line in the whole series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's good. It's so simple, but it gets the point across of who he is as a person.
Yep.
But that's probably my most used line. Pretty much to say I don't give a shit.
Yep.
All right, Sam.
Sure.
Well, there's a great.
Zach, sorry.
Yes, Sam. Go ahead.
I was just saying, there's a great ESPN, a fake ESPN sports documentary on. I forgot who made it, but it's covering Rocky 4. It's the dude tired himself, did a dance number for 20 minutes before he goes and fights this guy.
Yeah. He does.
That's what you do when you fight, isn't it? You have to do a dance number first.
And that's Apollo Creed.
Maybe I'm fighting wrong.
Because Apollo Creed did that in the first Rocky. He does that in the fourth Rocky. He showboats and he doesn't take his opponent seriously. And that's his weakness.
Yep.
That's what kills him.
Fair enough, but that was supposed to be an exhibition fight, and Drago didn't take it as an exhibition.
No, he does not. The Russians don't play.
But thank God,
Be it hockey or boxing,
world Dennis Rodman style.
Yeah,
he brought us all together. All right, Sam,
so
what you got?
I was going to say, I guess it's my turn now. So I'm going to... These are supposed to be martial arts / fighting movies. I'm sorry. I'm going to talk about my favorite movie of all time. It's The Quiet Man, which I'm sure none of y'all have ever seen. It's John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara. John Wayne plays a bare-knuckle boxer who accidentally killed his opponent in the ring. So he flees America to Ireland and is just trying to live a normal, quiet life, and it knows his capabilities, knows he can kill somebody with his bare hands, and doesn't want to have anything to do with it. Ends up meeting Maureen O'Hara, who is a smoke show, bombshell, beautiful woman. And she's a firecracker in the movie. She doesn't let him get away with anything. And her older brother is I'm going to beat his ass. This entire movie, her older brother's no, you can't have anything to do with her, nothing. And at the end of the movie is one of the best one-on-one fights in any John Wayne movie ever. They go through the entire town fighting just back and forth, just slugging it out. They end up at a bar in the movie, and they take a break to both have a pint. And it's one of the best movies of all time, in my opinion. I don't think John Wayne ever felt like it was one of his better ones, but for me, it's my favorite movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, I've never seen that one.
To check it out.
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Just going to have to add that to the watch list.
I don't think I've really ever heard it, and I've heard of pretty much all of John Wayne's work in my household.
Yeah, it's one that I bring up to people that are like, oh yeah, I love John Wayne, and then almost nobody's ever heard of it. And if they have, they were like, oh, I may have watched that as a kid, but yeah, I love this movie.
I mean, I'm not going to pretend I sit here and watch John Wayne movies. I watched movies with my grandpa, but I don't like go out of my way watching John Wayne movies. I thought about it, and I probably will someday. Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
We can't really count much on it. None of us have seen it.
I didn't really figure, but if I ever get an opportunity to talk about The Quiet Man, I'm going to take that opportunity. Yeah. And it was a fighting movie. John Wayne's a boxer. Hey, I'm going to bring it in.
No, I'm going to add it. So I'll have something to say about it next time.
All right.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I'm going to add it to.
I think you can watch it on Amazon.
Nice. I'm going to have to add that to my IMDb list.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to skip to one that Sam, I think, let me have, which was the original Kung Fu comedy, The Drunken Master. Jackie Chan, pretty much a kid with some talent, but he's a screw-up, tries to goof off in front of his friends, pretty much unknowingly sexually harasses his cousin, and then his aunt kicks his ass, just beats the living shit out of him. Then kicks the ass of some dude that deserved his ass kicked.
All right, hold on, pause real quick. So if you're listening right now, we're here for a Ricksplanation. This is a waterfall moment. Okay, so you got a waterfall until Rick's done. All right, continue.
I don't know how far I'm going to go into it, but
you need to make a graphic for that.
He kicks the dude's ass, who pretty much I think he doesn't pay, he doesn't pay for something, and then the dude's ass that he kicked tells his dad, and dad comes in.
I'm done. Not doing it anymore.
Sam tried to waterfall.
Dad comes in. Well, the aunt tells Jackie Chan's dad that, hey, your son sexually harassed my daughter. The dad's pretty much going to kill him right there. And the aunt's like, don't do that. So she saves his life. Then Jackie Chan beats the shit out of the dude's friend who he kicked the ass before. I know this doesn't make sense.
I can't keep the line straight.
The dad says, I'm going to bring in your great uncle to teach you. And Jackie Chan says, fuck no, I'm running away. And Jackie Chan runs away and is hungry. And so he sits at this restaurant and tricks this dude into ordering him food. And he's like, all right, I'm going to leave. And then the guy's like, no, you got to pay. He goes, oh, that guy's got it for me. He's my dad. He goes, oh, that's funny. He's my dad. And he owns the restaurant. So they all try to fight him. Jackie Chan's fighting them, kind of kicking their ass, but then starts getting his ass kicked. An old man from the restaurant helps him get out of there. Just so happens that old man is the great uncle that is supposed to train Jackie Chan.
Plot twist.
And so pretty much kidnaps Jackie Chan, makes him do this harsh training, but it's not the real training. Jackie Chan finally escapes by putting him in this pot full of water. But when he runs away, he gets his ass kicked by this total badass. And this dude throws him in fire and stuff like that. Jackie Chan comes back because he almost drowned his master, his great uncle. His great uncle's like, I ain't talking to you. And but Jackie Chan falls in his good graces and talks his great uncle into training him again. But his great uncle says, I'm not really training you yet. I'm actually going to train you in a special martial art, and it's it's by these 5 sages, I believe, the drunken sages. So he's got to learn about the 5 drunken sages. And he's like, it works a little better if you're drinking a little bit of alcohol. So basically, you got to look like you're losing to win. So Jackie Chan trains in this goofy freaking martial art, which I think that's why I like this movie so much. Because he looks freaking goofy and he looks freaking drunk, but he's such a great actor. He's such a great action actor in this.
He's such a great martial artist who is so good at using his body mechanics and the things around him that he can make himself look drunk and do some amazingly incredible things.
Exactly.
But
I don't think Jackie Chan gets enough credit in terms of how skilled he is as a stunt performer, martial artist, because the dude's been he was extras in like old Bruce Lee movies back in the day. Like you're talking about like 20, 30 years before he made it big himself. He's been doing this.
Yep. And I mean, you look at
talent.
any of the last 30 movies he's been in, and he's got his own stunt team. He's got his own stunt team there. They're all phenomenal martial artists. They're all phenomenal at stunts and everything else. But what really sticks out to me and makes me laugh every time I watch this movie, because that's probably number one for me with martial arts movies, is we all grew up in the 90s. We all remember after school specials. And this is the opposite of an after school special. It's, hey, you're getting into trouble. You're getting into fights. Try some alcohol.
Yeah, pretty much. And it helps him get his shit together.
Yeah, it's the best. It's my favorite representation of alcohol in movies ever. Because
it's the reverse of Dare.
Yes, it is. And he takes a shot and he's immediately drunk.
But my thing,
we all wish it worked that way.
But my thing, I realize when watching these dubbed Japanese movies, is I always feel like Japanese people, when they're dubbed like that, have ADD. Like they're like, like the way they talk and stuff like that. Like I'm like, dude, you're too much.
Oh man. Cool. Well, I'm gonna tie in a little bit to Jackie Chan here because, as you mentioned, he was a stunt double for Bruce Lee movies. My next pick was actually Enter the Dragon, a movie that I have watched over and over and over again. Will never get tired of because it was a James Bond movie that was actually a martial arts movie. I don't know. I'm sure you guys have probably seen it at some point, but I went through a huge phase where I watched all the Bruce Lee movies all the time. That was all I was watching. And Enter the Dragon was just so amazing. And it was his first American movie that he did.
And he rips out Chuck Norris's Chester.
No, that's not this one.
That's not that one?
That was
Enter the Dragon. The last Enter the Dragon. No, Enter the Dragon was Enter the Dragon is Bruce Lee. The Way of the Dragon, that's right.
Wow.
No, Enter the Dragon's the one where Bruce Lee...
He fights a dude with the claw.
Yeah, so Bruce Lee is basically he's like a monk, basically, and they're like, hey, we're going to send you to this tournament on this island, this martial arts tournament, but we know that they're moving guns and stuff, so we want you to go there and like figure out what's going on, and we'll come in and sweep out the bad guys. So basically turning him into a spy. But he goes and like it's crazy because it's got so many different things in it that you can relate to. Him going to fight on this island, basically like Mortal Kombat, in this tournament, and he just kicks the shit out of everyone he meets.
Boards don't.
But it's such, best line of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Best line of the movie. So many good parts in that though, and he's trying to avenge his sister because like the one guy killed her, or she killed herself because he trapped her in a corner, and basically death was better than whatever was going to happen to her. But Bruce Lee, obviously getting to watch some of his fight scenes are so amazing. And they had to like slow things down just because of his So basically, they had to use trick photography so that they could keep up with what he was doing.
Yeah, they had to record at a higher frame rate and then play it back at a lower frame rate.
Yeah. It was, but it's always like, it's just an incredible story, an incredible movie. Again, it's James Bond meets martial arts.
And the fight at the end with Han, when I talk about the fight being a good story, and this is the movie where, what's his name? In Mortal Kombat?
Johnny Cage?
No, the Bruce Lee was, where they based the character off Bruce Lee.
Oh, Liu Kang.
It sounded just like him. When
Yeah.
I play Liu Kang, I think of this movie. But the way it was choreographed with Han, where he like kicks the mirrors and stuff like that because he's using the mirrors against them and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
it was just his facial expressions throughout this movie, just like he's trying to walk away from O'Hara, and O'Hara's like breaks the bottles and coming after him, and then he's just like, oh, and then he jumps up in the air and stomps on the ground, but he's got this intense, constipated look on his face. But like, also it's acting, but he's putting so much emotion into that move. Like, it's so crazy how much energy he had to put into his face, grinding his jaw, turning his face bright red like that.
And John Saxon, he was great in that movie too. He was Roper, the other guy. So he was awesome, just kind of being a ladies' man. Like, I'm trying to think about like the best way to like really talk about how great this movie was. It was iconic. It made Bruce Lee a star. Like, he was doing movies in China and everything and doing pretty well. And this was the movie that like really brought him to the forefront. Like, this is the movie that he will probably be most remembered for, even though all of his movies are fantastic. And any Quentin Tarantino movie you watch, there's at least some kind of tribute to Bruce Lee in it in some way, shape, or form. And I'm trying to think about the part. The other best part of that movie is when they're on the boat heading to the island, and the one Australian dude comes up to him and starts talking shit. And he's like, well, what style do you do? He's like, I do the art of fighting without fighting. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, yeah, we don't want to fight on this boat. He's like, come on, let's get in this, let's get in here and we'll go to the island and we'll fight. And the guy gets in and he just like lets the boat go and ties it to the back because the guy was just such an asshole. Yeah. I just love so many good parts of that movie.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably one of his best movies with a lot of good scenes, minus Game of Death where he fights Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
That's a good one.
But yeah, Bruce Lee's got so much good movies. It's hard to just leave him off this list in general. It was hard for me because I have 4 movies and I don't have them on my list, which is like, I don't know how I can leave them off my list. It's hard. It was hard.
Well, even the Chinese
3. That's why I have 4. That's how this genre is.
The Chinese Connection, where he fights all those dudes with a pair of nunchucks in the dojo.
Yes, that's in that's Way of the Dragon, ain't it?
That's
Fist of Fury.
You're right. That is Fist of Fury. I'm sorry. That was Fist of Fury.
He fights the fat fat dude at the end.
Yeah, but like he's in that dojo and all those guys are surrounding him. He's just got the nunchucks and he's like swinging at their feet and stuff.
And then they try to go at
like, what's going on? Yeah. Yes. Oh my God, I forgot about that. That was Fist of Fury.
That was a good scene too.
It was, and that one was the Quentin Tarantino thing that was taken directly into Kill Bill. Because she's doing that on the ground when she's fighting the crazy 88, swinging the swords around. And even her look was the same. She was wearing basically the same outfit he was wearing in that. So
yes, she did.
Yeah. So yeah, awesome. But yeah, Enter the Dragon, awesome movie. Awesome movie.
All right.
I like that we go with old movies, classics.
Yeah, but like Bruce Lee, I can watch Bruce Lee that's just like Rocky, dude. I could watch Bruce Lee anytime.
He's a legend.
Yes. All right, Zach.
Cool.
All
right.
You got a third one?
It's kind of hard, but I'd feel wrong if we're going to sit here and talk and we're not going to talk about him, but I'm probably going to go with Kickboxer with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
And I don't have to have a fourth because that's mine.
Well, we can both just talk about it.
Go for it.
Yeah.
This is my favorite. Like, my favorite moment's not even a fighting moment when he's watching the one guy, like, just kicking the concrete pillar, and just watching it, it starts where he's like, when he sees like the ceiling shake and he sees what's going on, the guy's just kicking this concrete pillar over and over again as it's cracking and breaking, and that's the dude that his brother's supposed to fight.
That dude. I was doing some research. That's where I sent Adam that video. I forget what that movie was called. I was like, we got to watch this movie and do a review of it. I sent it to Adam and Sam. I didn't hear from Sam. I was like, it's got to be good. There's like 5 or 6 explosions in the trailer.
Yeah, that stupid fucking movie.
Van Damme's was and Kickboxer was in it. Because I was looking up. I was like, what else has motherfucker been in? He's been in like 5 movies. And they're all like movies like that, where it's like every other scene is like somebody shooting a gun, like women in bikinis shooting a gun and shit.
Well, that's the deal. Like, he's so intimidating. Like, and he plays a villain like in pretty much every movie. But they go to say that he is the nicest person you will ever meet.
So I was looking up old reviews of Kickboxer. And there were bad reviews because they're like, it's a copy of Karate Kid and Rocky. And I'm like, number one, everything is. Every fighting movie is now. Number 2.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Number 2, no way. Because there is no movie with a montage or fight scene like Kickboxer. The montage, the training in Kickboxer is the most painful training. The most torturous training, the way they split his legs, the way he has to kick those palm trees and shit, which they actually do in Thailand. The way that he has to get underwater and hold his breath. I felt pain. Like, that was like my first. Well, no, I watched Karate Kid. I watched Rocky, but like I watched that as a little kid. Gratuitous nudity and all. I was watching Kickboxer, but the fight at the end where they're dipping the fists in glass, like, what? Rocky wasn't dipping his freaking fist in glass. Ralph Macchio wasn't dipping his fist in glass. No, Jean-Claude Van Damme. I almost said Rob motherfucking Van Damme, the whole effing show. But no, Jean-Claude Van Damme was doing it. He's
Rob Lowe Van Damme.
And that scene of him dipping his hands in glass, you know what it reminds me of? Hot Shots Part 2. Mm-hmm. He's dipping his hands in the M&Ms and the different candies. Yeah. And people are sitting there cheering for what he should be putting his hands in, because the other guy's got like the glass and the nails on his hands, and he's just like, he's trying to decide like he's at an ice cream bar. And I've never been able to watch that scene the same way since.
But I'll tell you what, the dumbest and best movie at the same time is where Jean-Claude gets drunk and kicks everybody's ass because he's wearing those tight ass pants. Mm-hmm. It's like, dude.
Oh man, that is such a good movie, and it's funny because like it was this movie about this like really badass like blood sport basically, and people are fighting and beating the shit out of each other, and like you look at what kickboxing is now, it's exercise for bored housewives, like. Every kickboxing class that you go to is just like, okay, like kick it out. What's the guy's name who was very popular for doing that? Ty something. I can't remember what his name was. Tybo. Yeah.
Bill something.
Yeah. So yeah, but like kickboxing has become just this like thing that's just to do exercise. Like a lot of martial arts type stuff like that have been. But but the movie itself is like just so violent and it's so great. Jean-Claude Van Damme, obviously, this was a movie that one of the movies he's best known for. And I've always Time Cop. I've always been, you know what? Universal Soldier. That's probably the one that I like the most that he's done. But yeah, I mean, he was so good in this movie, and it brought him like really to a popularity level like he hadn't been before. Yeah.
But too bad he ditched it, though, and then Cody from Step by Step took over. And
I mean, really? Why don't I remember this?
Yeah, he was in like the next 3, and he's coming back for the next one too.
Huh? Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, he's a legit martial artist.
Didn't he get in a lot of trouble recently?
I know in the 90s he got in trouble for domestic violence.
Yeah, there was something. He had something happen to him. He definitely got arrested.
Yeah. Oh. Sam, were you going to say something?
No, I was trying to remember which was my favorite movie of his. Universal Soldier, pretty darn good. I mean, of course, he's in the Expendables. But I'm trying to remember exactly what name it was. I don't want to say it wrong. Street Fighter.
Oh yeah,
fucking damn it!
Not a good movie, but a fun every bit.
It was
the
ultimate American.
It's one of those so bad it's good.
The American soldier. It was Guile.
Yeah. I will say the only redeeming part of that whole movie was obviously Raul Julia as M. Bison. Yeah. He was perfect.
He had so much fun making that movie too.
Man.
He did it for his grandkids because he was already fighting cancer at this time, and they begged him to do it.
He was like a long-standing, like romantic, like serious actor.
Yeah,
and like the whole reason why he did it wasn't for the paycheck, was just so like he can make a movie that his kids could like watch and be like kind of happy to watch him in.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, and I mean, he was Gomez Addams, the best Gomez Addams we've ever had.
Easily.
He is just such a good actor, but his best line in Street Fighter was just when Chun-Li is trying to tell him about the time like they came into his village and, you know, murdered her family and everything. And then he turns to her and says, "For you, that was the worst day of your entire life. For me, it was a Tuesday."
That's so like good.
That's such a cold-blooded line, and he delivers it so perfectly.
Yes.
And it's the only reason to ever watch that movie is to just see him deliver that line.
Just chewing the scenery. He was so good in that. Oh my gosh.
Overly terrible movie, but again, his performance alone, like if you just supercut his parts alone into a movie by itself, a little 5-minute, 10-minute movie, like it's a movie worth watching.
Oh man, yeah, 100%.
Cool. Sam, I think you're up, right?
All right. All right, we'll go with Old Boy. Have any of y'all seen Old Boy?
I don't remember anything about it, but I've seen it.
I'm sure pretty much all of you have seen the hammer scene, the hammer fight scene, where he's just taking a hammer to guys. Basically, he gets out of it's about a guy that gets out of jail, and then has 5 days to find the guy that put him into jail, and it's goes up against like the Chinese mafia, and it's just a fantastic martial arts movie. It is the reason why the Daredevil hallway scene is pure garbage to me, that everybody points out as one of the best one-take scenes ever. And it's just utter and absolute garbage, because the hallway scene from Old Boy is the best hallway scene one take you will ever see, especially for a fight scene. The hammer fight scene, there's 2 points, I think, in the movie where they are torturing, or he's torturing somebody and pulling their teeth out, and it's pretty graphic. It was released in 2003, so it's not particularly old, but it's not super new at this point. It's kind of in that weird in between, but it is just a fantastic, kind of gory, kind of great, like martial arts movie.
Yeah, I've never seen this one. I'll have to add that one to my list too.
Yeah,
How long ago did that come out?
2003.
I feel like it was sooner. I can't believe it's been that long. I know I've seen it. Maybe that's why I don't remember it. It's been so long.
Yeah.
So I know I've seen it, but I don't remember the scene. But I remember what you're talking about pulling teeth, though. I remember his face and everything.
Yeah.
Okay, added to the list.
All right.
And then I'm going to throw one real quick honorable mention for myself. Here Comes the Boom. Kevin James is.
I like that movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's a really good one.
It's probably his best movie.
Yeah.
Not to mention he was a legit actual wrestler. He pretty successed high school wrestler.
And he's he's black belt jiu-jitsu, I think, too.
Yeah. And he's and it had Henry Winkler in it, which is always fun to see him. But that was actually a very enjoyable movie, and I was very surprised by it because I was like, it's another Kevin James movie.
Yeah.
But it's by far for me one of his best.
I love Kevin James.
I like Kevin James, but I don't look at his movies as anything where I'm like, this is going to be awesome. I'm like, it's going to be a silly, ridiculous movie. Really?
I have to go watch a Kevin James movie guy.
We feel differently about that.
Mall Cop, I'm there.
I saw Mall Cop. It was funny. I laughed. I thought it was good.
If they said, hey, we're having Mall Cop 2, did they already have a 2? I don't know. 3?
I think they had a 2.
I'd be like, I'm going to watch it.
Yeah. No, I like Kevin James. I think he's really funny. And, I like King of Queens and all that. But as far as his movies go, nothing has ever really wowed me. Here Comes the Boom.
Queens, by the way. Jerry Stiller in that show was phenomenal.
I think Here Comes the Boom is number 1 for me with Kevin James movies, and then I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry is number 2.
That's a funny one. I like that one.
And you get to see, there's a great scene with Jessica Biel.
One of my favorite things, you guys watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the bit where Andy Samberg is up doing the auctioneer thing, and Adam Sandler's there trying to buy art and everything, and he's like, oh yeah, he's like, it's Adam Sandler. He's like, yeah, he's like, oh, I'm so silly, but I'm actually doing a very serious movie about the Russian Revolution. And Andy Samberg's like, oh yeah, who does Kevin James play? And then he's like, ha ha ha, and then he names somebody. He's like, there it is. But no, that's
Sandler's a Hollywood gem. He takes care of his friends, and that's the way you should do it.
He's a star maker too.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
He's the one who made Brendan Fraser a star. He's the one who made Brad Pitt a star.
Yep.
He legitimately is the guy who just makes people big.
Oh yeah. Adam Sandler's awesome.
Yeah.
He made Bob Barker a star.
He did. Yeah. Before that, Bob Barker. Who had ever heard of Bob Barker before Happy Gilmore?
Nobody. He got a TV show out of that. I don't know.
Yeah. He did a couple episodes of some game show. I don't know.
No.
Yeah. Put it on the map.
Yeah.
Just like whoever Kelsey put this Taylor Swift on the map. She was unknown before she started dating him.
Yeah.
Oh, Travis Nelson.
All right, Rick, you're up.
Okay. It took me a second to figure out what you were trying to say.
I tried to make it as vague as possible to hopefully piss off as many people as possible. Go ahead, Rick.
So, I guess I'm going to have to talk about my favorite movie of all time. This movie is definitely about fighting. So if we were talking about martial arts, I probably couldn't put this on the list. Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Anybody who knows me knows I love Scott Pilgrim. I got the whole set of books, read it all, watch all the cartoons, play the video game. Me and Adam used to stay up all night playing the video game.
We did.
I adore all the characters. I was just thinking about how what's his name? Who's the gay character?
Culkin.
Yeah, Colton.
Why am I trying to? I'm trying to blink now.
Cut this out so I sound smart.
Kieran Culkin.
Kieran Culkin.
Yeah, but his real name, Walt.
His real name. That is his real name.
Mm-hmm.
His name, Wallace. I was thinking about how Wallace is like such a great character, and how many levels as a character he is, and how much like he shows such indifference for Scott Pilgrim, but at the same time enables him and loves him. And he's like, I realize he's like one of my favorite characters, and he's very underappreciated as a great character. And the fights are good in the movie, but the movie's more of Scott Pilgrim's life is a video game. But Scott Pilgrim is this like slacker nerd that makes terrible choices and has terrible insight into himself. And it has so many great actors as Anna Kendrick and Aubrey Plaza and Mike Cera and Culkin and Brandon Routh and Chris Evans and what's her name?
Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Brie Larson. Okay, listen. I don't care what you say.
Here we go.
Brie Larson in this movie is I love her. I love Brie Larson in this movie. Whatever you say about her afterwards, that's you. In this movie, I am in love with Brie Larson. The way she sings that song, you can look up that version on YouTube, not the metric version. The metric version sucks. You got to look up the Brie Larson version. One of my favorite songs of all time. This movie, I was watching it again the other day because just like Rocky or Christmas Vacation, I can sit and watch anytime. It's like put a movie on repeat for the rest of your life that you're never going to get tired of. This is one of those movies. And I'm just sitting there watching it and just feeling good watching it and happy. Like, I feel good. Like, if I'm in a bad mood, I can turn on this movie and watch it. The fight scenes are creative. The way he gets out of the fights or tricks them into fighting. Brandon Routh just kicks his ass, but he's vegan and he has vegan powers, and if he has animal product, he gets arrested by the vegan police. It's so goofy. I don't know. I like Chris Evans' character in there. I think is pretty funny. Like, I think all the X's are funny. And then like how like Scott Pilgrim learns his lesson in the end, which is completely different from the book. But then like the new cartoon series takes a whole new direction, which I highly recommend watching on Netflix because like Scott Pilgrim never learns his lesson, which is even more awesome. But like I've wanted these characters because these characters are all so awesome. Like that's what I like about this movie is I just love all the characters, and every time I see a character, I'm so delighted that character is there. Sorry, I could talk about it all day. I'll let you guys talk because I could sit and talk about Scott Pilgrim all day.
I love Scott Pilgrim too. It is it's a fantastic movie. It's very like artistic too in the way they do it, and they tie it into comic books, video games, a little bit of everything in there. And Michael Cera is like the lead actor in it. I don't think I really saw him in much before that as like a lead character. I'm sure he did some, but I never saw it. But this was obviously a fantastic movie, and it's one that I too could also watch over and over again, not get tired of.
And it's an Edgar Wright movie who's a genius himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Yeah, Chris Evans is great in that, but he's even better when he's in this outfit. That's my Chris Evans. I don't care what anybody else says. He's not Captain America. That's Chris Evans.
If you can't, so obviously you're probably not watching this right now, but Sam was just holding up a picture on his phone of Chris Evans from Not Another Teen Movie where he's covered in whipped cream and has a banana sticking out of his ass. And someday when we talk about parody movies, I'm bringing that one up because it's definitely like top 5 for me.
Hey, put a marker here.
Yeah. Okay, done.
It's like a patient of mine. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, all right. Who's next? Who do we got next?
That's me. So I'm finishing it off here with my number 1 pick, which is Kung Fu Hustle.
Oh yes.
Oh my God, this movie is by far my favorite martial arts movie I've ever seen. It is equal parts Jackie Chan, Looney Tunes, and Bruce Lee. It is such an amazing movie, and it was so goofy and off the wall. And like the whole premise is these 2 guys who are wannabe gangsters basically end up causing a feud between a slum and this gang called the X Gang. And the slum has a bunch of martial arts masters in it. Big fights break out, all these things. It's just, and everything that happens is so comical. And when I say it's kind of like Looney Tunes, it's because some of the things that happen in there could only happen in a cartoon. But the movie is funny. It's a foreign film. The movie is funny, but the fight scenes are absolutely amazing. It was written and directed by Stephen Chow, who's done other movies like Shaolin Soccer. And I mean, he's done a ton of movies, but this is like probably one of the few that really made it to the US for a theatrical release. And my story about this movie is I saw this when I was in high school, and I told all my friends like, yeah, let's go see this movie and everything. And so the girl I was kind of seeing at the time, she was like really the leader of our little group. And, you know, she was like, oh yeah, she's like, let's go see it. Adam has good taste in movies. We went and saw it. Everybody else I was with fucking hated that movie. They were like, Adam is never allowed to choose a movie again. But I loved it. I walked out of that theater like wanting to punch and kick things because I just had such a great time watching this movie. And I bought it on DVD, and it was, to me, it was like Scott Pilgrim is to Rick. It was a movie that I watched over and over for years, nonstop.
I'm imagining.
But I fucking love that movie.
I'm imagining you like that, like the dude watching Gay the Musical, like during the movie, going, "Yeah,
yeah." That was basically it. I had a great time in that movie.
I'm imagining him like the Office parkour scene. After he leaves the movie, just like trying to punch and kick shit, just like they were trying to do parkour.
Both accurate representations. They hated that movie, but they weren't like into that stuff like I was. And it's high school, you know, so I was still kind of nerdy. Like I was part of this group because of the girl I was dating. Yeah. Everybody else, you know, it was a lot of girls, and they were just like, I don't get it. I don't get this movie. I'm like, it's fantastic. I was like, what else do you need to know? Like they're fighting. They're like, well, we didn't know it was a foreign film. I'm like, so fucking what, you racist?
I don't know.
I don't care if you get it or not. I like it.
I haven't talked to any of them in a long time.
You know what? There's a reason we're not like friends with all our high school people, and we found each other even though we're not even from anywhere near where we lived, you know?
But anyways, Kung Fu Hustle, awesome movie. Again, one of my favorites. I haven't watched it in a long time, so I'm due for another one shortly. Great movie. Again, it's just so off the wall. And Bill Murray was saying that this is one of his favorite movies too. In an interview not too long ago, just said it was the peak of like cinema, basically.
Yeah.
Well, he would know.
Yeah. Well, because Bill Murray's the best.
Yep.
If Bill Murray says it's the peak of cinema, if Bill Murray says that, then it must be so.
That is 100% accurate.
thanks again for listening to Spit Take Podcast. Once again, my name is Sam. Make sure you check us out on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, and TikTok. Make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you to Rick, Adam, and Zach. And Rick, what do you always say?
Double up, guys!